appreciate Brenden Nunes for being here. I got to imagine, Brenden, you had a pretty late night last night. Appreciate you carving out some time to join us. You were at the Chase Center. What stood out to you most about last night's game with the Kings and the Warriors?
That the Chase Center is nowhere near as loud as Golden One Center. Can I just start with that one?
It came across pretty sterile on television. But, they're champions. They're waiting for the finals. That's what I hear.
I do think there's something to that.
Steph had to tell him to get up.
He did. And I like that Steph likes to play to the crowd. And it's no disrespect to Chase. I do think that crowd is great. It's just Golden One is on a whole nother level. And I think it's not many places can keep up with Golden One when it comes down to it. But when it comes to on-court production, kind of thought the Kings were getting bullied. I think there were 2 Ps that they emphasized going into the postseason, and that was physicality and pace. And I think that was something that really helped them in those first 2 games be better on both ends of the floor. And then after game 2, which I'm sure has a little bit to do with the entire, Draymond Sabonis situation, they added a 3rd P, which is poise. And I didn't think they did a great job doing any of those 3 Ps that have kind of been the points of emphasis for them in that game 3. You see it in Looney's offensive rebounds where he was just a beast. Dante DiVincenzo, they kind of look like the Warriors just wanted it more.
Yeah, the Warriors, in my opinion, were the more desperate team last night, and they played like that, and they get all the credit in the world for that, man. They stepped up. They had their own level of adversity, and they stepped up and they answered the bell. Just thought the Kings were a step slow. We talked about it earlier, Brenden, about how possibly Domas he was a little off, man. He was a little bothered by how things have been going the last couple of days, and he was just a little off in his game. Did you see the same thing where, because we all know he doesn't like all this attention and all this other nonsense that goes on. Did you think that maybe he was a little bothered by everything that had gone on all week?
I don't know that it had to do with kind of everything that was going on or getting booed every time he touched the ball. Like, I tend to point more to Kevon Looney being a damn good defender, an individual defender, that Golden State is comfortable enough with an all-star going one-on-one with him, and Looney's done a good job. And then also everybody else is kind of just forcing Looney to be, forcing Domas to be a scorer. Coach Brown talked about it post-game where it's like everybody looks like they're coming over to help, but then going back out to their man at the last minute. And you saw Domas had 4 assists, 6 turnovers. How often do you see him have a night like that? You go back one game, even in game 2, 4 assists, 3 turnovers. I think they're just trying to take away his playmaking a little bit. And I think that's credit to the Warriors, but it does open up some other things. So I still think like Domas having his 16 boards, still 15 points on all right efficiency is okay production. And it's kind of just how Golden State's playing them.
How correctable do you think some of the things that we saw from Sacramento yesterday is?
Extremely correctable. Like, a lot of it is effort and attention to detail in my mind. It's don't watch the ball. It's the same stuff that I feel like Kerr complained about after game 2 for his team. Like, we were ball watching is what Kerr was saying when the shot went up, instead of finding where your man is and putting a body on someone so they can't go crash. And I think we saw that exact same thing happen to Sacramento in this one a lot. I mean, 18 offensive rebounds. You're just not going to win a game like that, and they're turning the ball over. And then the obvious one is just the 3-point shot. Like, Keegan Murray hit his first triple of the series with 4 or 5 minutes left in that game. Kevin Huerter has really struggled. Harrison Barnes had an all right night, but I think has struggled overall in the series. Those are going to start to go down. I think they've been good looks, but the things you can control are for sure just sloppiness on turnovers, and can't give up those offensive rebounds.
Yeah, the offensive rebounds. Obviously, Looney was a monster on the boards, but I thought as a team, DiVincenzo getting there as well. As a team, the Warriors really put a lot of emphasis on that and just outworked the Kings in a lot of these hustle areas. And like you said, that's something that can be fixed with just attention to detail, like the way you were saying that. And then also you talk about the poise that's needed. I think that can be fixed with that as well. So I agree with you right there. That attention to detail really stuck out to me when you said that.
And I think it goes to everybody, but I will say I do think that like De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, and Harrison Barnes are showing up. I think that those guys had good games. You can want more from Domas. I totally understand that. I thought De'Aaron had a big game when it came to looking like moments where Golden State was maybe going to push it to 20. And then instead he'd have a couple big buckets and bring it back down to 12 or 8 and sort of keep him in it. And it was sort of the typical, role players for both teams showed up when they were at home. Like Malik went quiet. You didn't have actually Davion was pretty good, I thought, but you didn't have a Trey Lyles. Alex Len's production was kind of quiet. And then on the other end, you got Dante DiVincenzo, Moses Moody making an impact. Jonathan Kuminga had some big moments. So sort of typical road home stuff.
What stood out to you about Davion?
Same stuff that always stands out. He's an absolute dog that is not scared of the moment. Anytime I'm on people about physicality, it is never Davion Mitchell. That man.
Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable with him shooting threes?
I think he has to. I don't honestly have the most confidence when they go up, but he's done it at an okay rate. I think he has to, is kind of what it comes down to me.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, you got to shoot it. You got to shoot it, or else you can't be out there. And I think he knows that. I think Coach Brown and the rest of the coaching staff empowers him to go about it as such. And we talk about confidence. It's really weird with Davion because I look at his shot visually and I'm confident in the shot visually. It just doesn't go in maybe as much as we like for it to go in, but it never seems like he's off balance or it's just this broke shot. But yeah, I'm confident in him shooting that shot and shooting it with confidence more than anything. If he's hesitant, that's going to make me hesitant in my confidence,
sure.
Right? If he's shooting it free and with confidence, that's going to make me as an observer. And if I was the coaching staff, that would make me as the coaching staff feel good about the prospects of him saying, hey, keep shooting the rock.
I'm definitely with you. I think that form is super consistent. To your point, he spends a lot of time working on that with himself, with Doug Christie, and it's compact. It looks the exact same every time he gets it up. Maybe there's some variance, I feel like, in arc sometimes, but I do feel like they look like they should be going down. It's just not something that he's hit a great amount throughout the course of his career. He had a big one, obviously, at the end of game 2, which I'm sure does a lot for his confidence, but have to shoot those if you want to get minutes next to De'Aaron and Domas.
All right. Davion, check. Now, Keegan.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I mentioned that I'm never going to get on Davion about physicality because there's never a reason to. Keegan is probably on the other end of that. I feel like there's been moments throughout the course of this year where he looks a little bit bothered by physicality. I think that's been something throughout the course of the year that can tend to phase him a little bit. And you're absolutely seeing that. I mean, you've seen it in every single game, really. It's just in the first 2, Sacramento had other guys step up and sort of be able to fill that void. So defensively, I think it's just a tough assignment for a rookie. I mean, he goes into that game yesterday and it's assigned to Jordan Poole. And I know they've been doing this all year, whether it be a Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, right? They're putting him on these guards, Paul George, and thinking he can keep up. That doesn't mean it's not a really tough assignment for the guy. He gets switched on to Steph Curry. 2 of those first 3 fouls, I think, were on Steph. And that's a tough assignment. So I think that he could get better at embracing the physicality and I think transition defense. But obviously, if a couple of shots go down, it wouldn't hurt either, when that was kind of his staple throughout the course of the whole year. But for me with Murray, it's really the physicality. And I think it's a rookie thing. It's not something that I'm like, oh, long term, this makes me worry about Keegan Murray. I tend to blow it off as a rookie thing.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I don't think it's long term. I am worried about if he's ready for this series, this level of intensity. I would have a quick hook with Keegan Murray moving forward. I use the boxing analogy a lot where, somebody's in trouble and the ref says, hey, you got to show me something. So I'm going to stop this thing. And that's how I'd be if I was Mike Brown. Like, Keegan, you're going to continue to start. You got to show me something. Doesn't mean you have to score a lot or do anything else like that. But you got to show me that you're meant to be in this game at this moment in your career. Else I got to go with somebody else ASAP. And I don't know. I'm not confident in Keegan Murray at this point. And we'll see what he can give us in game 4 and moving on. But that's how I do it. I be like, you got to show me something, Keegan. Got to.
It's a tough balance, right? Because he hasn't showed you much of anything. I mean, he's been straight up bad in these first 3 games, even in the wins. And it's tough though, like, because you can have him start, and if he's not feeling it, it's still clearly one of those games. You can go in a different direction. I wonder what that balance is of if you pull him. He's a guy that does seem very poised on the outside, right? But you never know. That could get in somebody's head and just maybe make this even worse. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting decision that they may end up being faced with.
But what do you mean by pull him? You mean pull him from the starting lineup?
Just from starting.
Oh. I think you always start him though. I think you always start him. I that's where I do disagree. I don't mess around with benching him and not starting him. I'm always starting him. If that means he plays 2 minutes because he don't have it, then that's what it means. But I would always start him. I'd always be like, no matter what, Keegan, you're gonna get that opportunity. You just not going to have a long opportunity if you're not producing. But I would not bench.
But doesn't that fall into the stuff we were talking about with TD and Rashawn and those guys earlier in the year, where now when you get into situations like that, you start playing scared? Like we saw Rashawn play concerned, like he's not going to get. We saw Terrence play like, man, I might never get another opportunity after this one.
The difference with those two, though, in my opinion, and Brenden, you can tell me how you feel, is I think it's all encompassing with Keegan. You cannot be making shots, but if you're making plays on the defensive end, if you're active on the boards, you can stay in the game. You know, we were talking about earlier with those guys, they were scared to shoot because if they weren't hitting their shots, they were coming out.
Yeah.
With Keegan, if I'll put it to you like this, if Keegan starts off 0 for 3, but has 5 rebounds in the first quarter, he can keep playing. You know, and that's the difference. I just need to see that you are showing me that you are ready to be part of this type of game. In any form or fashion. Shot not falling, I'm going to be a playmaker. I'm going to be a rebounder. I'm going to do good on defense. My rotation is going to be on point. And I haven't seen any of that from Keegan so far.
I'm with you. I think it's been a point of conversation all year long, is that like if Keegan's shot isn't going down, what else can he do? And we've seen him have like developments and moments, whether that be rebounding or putting the ball on the floor, trying to finish around the rim. But Golden State is very specifically taking away his 3-point shot. He does still have value when he's out there because he's still going to have that gravity. This guy's a 40% 3-point shooter on 6.5 attempts a game. Like just broke this rookie 3-point record. He's the best 3-point shooting rookie of all time this season. So he still has that respect when he's out there. And, you know, you could say a similar thing with Herter, is that they're just taking these guys shots away. And I think Herter's finding other ways to impact the game. But to Kenny's point, I'm kind of with him that it doesn't feel like Murray has at this point.
Are you seeing anything defensively from Golden State that's throwing guys like Keegan off, maybe Kevin Herter, maybe just the 3-point shooting overall from Sacramento? Or do you just put that squarely on the shoulders of the Kings?
No, I mean, I think that is definitely a point of emphasis. I think that like on dribble handoffs, the big that's on Domas, when the guard or Keegan or Kevin or anybody comes off that DHO, that the big that's covering Domas is also going up there and they're practically double teaming the guy and then just leaving Domas. You know, I think they're really taking away those 3-point looks. I think it was a little bit different in yesterday's game, but it's definitely something they are taking away. And that's why, you know, in game 2, Kevin Herter is 2 of 9 from 3, but he's still 4 of 5 from 2. Like I think Herter's finding ways to still get looks from 2. And so is HB, but Keegan not quite. It definitely has to do with Golden State taking away the 3 ball, though, in my mind.
What do you feel about that? Like, is that a situation where they got it as a cream? We talked about it with Davion, but as a team, continue to shoot those threes when you have those open looks, like, or you know, some people are saying today, like, hey, if it's not falling, get to the cup. I'm of the belief, like, if the three's there, it's part of your offense. You got to shoot it. Same thing I feel with Davion. Like, you got to shoot it. I know the common thought is, like, just take the ball into the cup, but I also think the way the Warriors are defending, really putting a lot of people in the paint, you just kind of be slamming your head up against the wall. You've got to draw them out by showing that you're going to knock down those threes. So you got to keep taking them. But what do you think about that?
I think you got to keep taking them. I think they've been good looks. I think the Golden State is taking away a lot. And that's part of the reason like secondary playmaking has become so important and why I think Malik was so big in those first 2 games. But they're not taking a crazy amount more than what they typically do. You know, they average just about 37 on the year in yesterday's game. I mean, they did get to 47. That's a good chunk more, but I thought that they were decent looks. You see 38 attempts in game 2. I think that you got to keep taking them. That's what these guys are good at. I think Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes are all elite three-point shooters. Trey Lyles is a damn good shooter. Malik Monk is a good shooter. If they still give TD some burn, he's a good shooter. Like, those guys have to be taking those shots. And, I feel crazy and I'm second guessing myself as much as anyone since it's been 3 games now, or really 2 really bad ones. But I think they have to start going down. I would hope.
Right.
Brenden, where's your level of confidence headed into Sunday?
I'm torn. They just have to lock in. I really think that it was an effort, or maybe not effort. I'm sure those guys want to win that game, but it's just attention to detail. Like, Golden State wanted it more. Is defending champs back against the wall? I'm feeling about a coin flip going into it. I think that if they can take care of those little details, that it'll come down to a close game down the stretch, and then you get De'Aaron versus Steph. I'm also thinking there's a world where Golden State looks kind of better without Draymond. And it's not specifically Draymond. I think it's you should only play one of Dre or Looney at the same time.
Mhm.
And
No, it's Draymond.
to an extent.
Did you think pace was an issue yesterday? By the way, did you think like the pace for the Sacramento Kings was an issue yesterday?
For sure. But I think it all like ties back to turnovers, to offensive rebounds. Like, asked HB about it post game, like, how do you fix the pace or sort of be more so the ones that control it? And he's like, it doesn't help when you're taking the ball out of your basket every time. Like, sure, Golden State only shot, was it 40%, but when you account for 18 of their 60 misses were offensive rebounds, those aren't even opportunities for you to get out in transition. So I think pace was an issue, but it all kind of ties back to those same things that we talked about earlier.
But it still felt like to me, though, we talked about this, Casey, but it still felt like to me, Brenden, when they even, taking the ball out of bounds, they can still push the pace when they take when they take the ball out of the basket. I mean, we've seen it in the regular season. We saw it a couple of nights ago at the Golden One Center. We didn't see it yesterday. And I don't know if it was just an avalanche of things, if it was the offensive rebounds, because one thing about, not just the offensive rebound, that's deflating, because you feel like you get a stop. You feel like you've done part of your job on the defensive end. You just don't close it out. And they gave up so many. I felt like it just let more and more air out of that Sacramento Kings balloon, to the point where they damn near got to walking the ball up the floor at various times, which is like, what team is that?
Right. And maybe you're so worried about those offensive rebounds that everybody is, I mean, I don't think anybody was really boxing out, to be honest, but everybody's just kind of watching rather than trying to get out and transition on the other end. And you got to create your own energy when you're in a home stadium and in an away stadium. I think it's easier to be so locked in on sprinting every single time when you got your own crowd energy behind you.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that we talked about going into yesterday's game a little bit, and that's the Warriors and how they play at home. Great home team. For whatever reason, they play with more energy consistently, it seems like, at home than they do on the road. And then it's the old adage that we talk about the playoffs, the others, the DiVincenzo's, the Moses Moody's, the Kumingas, playing a lot better at home than they did on the road. So it showed up yesterday in game 3. Game 4, we're going to see how it plays out. The Kings have to match that intensity. I do believe there's something to, they maybe got caught up in, everybody complaining about this physical play thing. If you got to knock somebody on their ass, knock them on their ass. We're trying to win games, man. We ain't trying to win no popularity contest. We ain't trying to don't worry about what people saying. Don't worry about what people saying. I'm not saying they are, but.
Well, it was clearly on their mind. If Mike's bringing it up during the sideline, it was clearly something that they were aware of, that they talked about, they were aware. We know that they were aware. We got text messages to show that they were aware. Yeah. They heard all of that, and that stuff frustrated them, and they knew what last night's game was going to look like. And they don't rely on the whistle. We ain't getting it. The national media, they're looking at us. We ain't going to get it tonight. Put that out of your mind and go play ball.
Go play, man. You got to knock somebody down, If they say you use the ball as a weapon, well, watch out. A weapon is coming.
Boy, that's a wild one.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
a
Like, play
wild
your
one.
game. Play your game. Do what you do. Don't worry about the crying and the complaining that's going on everywhere else. You keep doing what you do. Like you said earlier, Damon, you gave him one. Don't give him another. That goes for everybody, not just Domas.
Sacramento won a game being the more physical team, and then Golden State turns around and wins a game being the more physical team. So I'm ready for a dogfight in game 4.
There it is again. I swear, if we don't stop fighting dogs, man, I don't understand. You had a dog. I don't understand why are we always
That's my fault. That's my fault.
Has anyone ever elaborated on the ball as a weapon thing? Was there ever a follow-up to that?
No, Malik and Domas got asked about it at shoot around yesterday, and Domas kind of said, "I've never heard of anything like that," and Malik very much was. He just kind of chuckled a little bit. They didn't give too much comment, but they definitely found it funny.
Never heard that before.
Yeah,
Use the ball as a weapon.
That was crazy, man. That was crazy.
I mean, you do shoot it, but that doesn't. I don't know. That's why I don't know, man. I don't know. It's been a weird series. It's been a really
three
weird
games
series.
in.
I know. We got more basketball ahead. How far do you think this goes? You think this goes 7? Think it goes 6? 5?
I think 6 or 7. I don't know. I'm giving a cop-out answer. I still think the Kings could win in 5. I think if they take the next one, they could totally take the 5th, but probably a 6-7.
I'm fearful of a situation where they do take Sundays and then walk into the Golden One Center and just get the crap kicked out of them.
The Kings?
Yeah. Just amped for the moment, and it all goes to hell.
Anything can happen in this series.
Who knows?
Anything can happen in this series.
Who knows? We appreciate you, Brenden, man. Thanks for carving out some time for us. We know you got a busy weekend driving back and forth to San Francisco, man, so we appreciate you.
Of course, guys. Always glad to do it.